When I read about problems that are facing the marketplace, issues that are facing the world of business, and how to get them resolved, the last people that I would consult reside in Washington, D.C. Politicians are inept when it comes to solving real life problems. Now, they're great at creating problems. Politicians are excellent at screwing things up. They can make one hell of a mess and leave the private sector to clean it up. During the Biden administration, can you tell me one problem that they've solved? Border disaster, Ukraine, inflation, gas prices, food prices, failed. Vice presidential selection, the biggest failure of them all. Kamala Harris is not qualified to manage a dry cleaners. Now, these inept, unqualified politicians, they're taking it upon themselves to fix the problems in college sports. Does that mean they're going to fix the transgender problem? Is the federal government going to step in and do what the NCAA should have done? Ban men from competing against women? No. Of course not. Come on, guys. That's not a problem. That's progress. Every little boy dreams of growing up and chopping off his dinky and becoming a girl. We need to encourage our little boys to become girls. We need to encourage our little girls to identify as non-binary goats. 3 dumbass politicians, one from California, one from New York, the other one I think is from Jersey. 3 states who have already sunk to the bottom of the woke sea. They announced yesterday that over the next 12 to 18 months, they are going to fix the gender equity problem in college sports. Earlier this week, USA Today released what they called extensive research into the financial disparities between men's and women's sports in college. Now, don't worry. You don't have to waste 30 minutes of your time reading it. I took care of it for you. If you're uninformed, if you don't know what you're looking for, then you could fall into the woke media trap. Colleges are not treating women fairly. They spend 40% more on men than they do the women. That is not equity. We must focus on gender fairness. Luckily, I have been trained to read through media bullshit. I'm bilingual. English is my primary language, but I'm also fluent and stupid. I can translate the language of the woke and present it to you in a way that you understand. Members of the mainstream media, they have become experts at taking facts and structuring them in a way that fits their narrative. But they never give you the whole story. They always leave out certain facts, certain details that dispel their entire notion. It's called lying by omission. I was an expert at doing this when I was growing up. My mom would ask me something like, "Did you go to school today?" "Yes, Mom, I did." I really did go to school, I just didn't go to class. Technically, I wasn't lying, but it was a lie by omission. The mainstream media is excellent at doing this. It's exactly what USA Today did in their extensive report on what they call gender inequity in college sports. Social justice warriors continue to fall back on Title IX. This year is the 50th anniversary of the passing of Title IX. Now, the woke media, they interpret this legislation to mean that everything must be equal across the board in college sports. That's not what Title IX did. Title IX was implemented to ensure women were given the same opportunity as the men. That does not mean they're guaranteed to receive the same budget. It doesn't mean they're guaranteed to receive the same amenities. It guarantees women the same opportunity. Now, what they do with that opportunity, that's up to them. At one point in the report, USA Today claimed that college sports are not a business. Now, once again, that's a partial truth. Women's sports in college, they damn sure aren't a business. If they were, they would be out of business. They're money losers. Women's sports are the equivalent to a charity. Same goes with the majority of men's sports. But football, men's college basketball, that is a business. Many of these programs are ran like major corporations. They generate hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Throughout the entire report, USA Today crafted the narrative that women were being treated unfairly because they don't receive the exact amount of money as the men. But they left out one important point, one very important point. It was a lie by omission. They failed to compare the disparity in revenue between men's and women's sports. That's why you have me. Captain Save the Woke. I spent some time this morning and did the media's job for them. It took me all of about 20, maybe 30 minutes to find the information that I'm about to show you. USA Today mentioned the women's basketball programs in Oregon and South Carolina in their research. The first couple of paragraphs of the report, they talk about the women's basketball team in Oregon packing the arena for home games in 2019. That's interesting. Now, you guys know me. I never take the woke media at their word. So I fact-checked them. I fact-checked that point. During the 2018-19 season, the Oregon women ranked 8th in the country in attendance. They drew 7,000 people per game, which filled the arena to 57% of capacity. When someone tells me they packed the arena, I take that as the games are sold out. I guess the woke media has a different interpretation. To them, packing the arena means every other seat is fucking empty. That season, South Carolina, they were number 1 in attendance. They were at 61% of capacity. Since USA Today mentioned both Oregon and South Carolina, I pulled the financials for each program and compared them to the men. Actually, I even took it a step further. The federal government, the woke media, they're pushing for equity across all college sports. So I pulled the financials for all sports, and the results were not surprising. It was exactly what I expected them to be. The University of Oregon has 11 athletic programs, and it turns out USA Today was right. Oregon is not gender equitable. They have a women's volleyball team, but they don't have a men's volleyball team. How fucking unfair is that? Those inequitable assholes. What if the men wanted to wear short shorts and go spike a volleyball? How come they don't get the same opportunity as the women? You don't think Jackie Mahomes would like to receive a volleyball scholarship? He could even entertain the 7 people in attendance with his foo-foo dancing during breaks. USA Today, they're not going to mention that point though. No. That doesn't fit their narrative. You see, gender equity doesn't apply to men. It only applies to women and those who identify as non-binary. Oregon, they had over $108 million in revenue across all sports, with $108 million in revenue in expenses. Now, as you can see, they're not making much money. They actually made about $200-something thousand. Now, I want you to remember this point because this is key. These schools are being pressured to spread the money evenly between men and women when there's not enough money to spread around. This will lead to the elimination of the vast majority of athletic programs. Take a look at the financials for the men's sports at Oregon. Unsurprisingly, 2 sports make money, football and men's basketball, with football making the bulk of the profits. All other sports, money losers. Now, let's take a look at the women. According to the woke media, women's basketball at Oregon packs arenas. They've got to be making millions upon millions of dollars. Take a look for yourself. Not only does women's basketball not make money, they fucking lose more money than every other sport. If the woke media has their way and resources are forced to be spread evenly, when there's no money to be spread around, which sport do you think will be eliminated first? If you're running a business and thinking logically, you're going to eliminate the programs that cost the most money and lose money. Now let's move on to South Carolina, another school with a supposedly popular women's basketball team. Overall, South Carolina brings in $140,295,000 in revenue with $140,146,000 in expenses. Not a lot of wiggle room. They're barely making any money. If this were operated like a real business, they would be on the brink of life support. Now, here are the financials for the men's sports at South Carolina. Again, No surprise, football, basketball make the money, everything else operates in the red. Now take a look at the women. Now wait a minute now. I thought women's basketball at South Carolina was popular, number one in the country in attendance. If it's so popular, how are they losing nearly $5 million every year? Just like the WNBA, the women in college sports have no leverage. There is a reason the men are given more financial resources. They're making all the fucking money. This is not going to be politically correct, but if you're a young woman on scholarship for basketball, you should just be thankful they have the money to give you the scholarship. All you young ladies out there pushing for equity in sports, you are pushing your own demise. Mark my words. If the government gets their way, or if the woke media gets their way, and they start spreading money evenly between men and women, it will be the end of women's sports. These schools, they are not going to cut funding from football. They're not going to cut funding from men's basketball. They're going to cut funding from volleyball, swimming, tennis, softball. Politicians, the media, they don't give a shit about you. You are just their cause for the moment. You think Mike Freeman at USA Today really cares about women's basketball? You think he cares about their future? No. You are just the woke tool they are using right now to further their own agenda. You're being used to hasten your own demise, and you don't even know it. There is a war on women's sports right now in this country, a war that women are actively taking part in themselves. Men taking spots from women, stealing their championships. It's almost comparable to how abortion got started. The idea behind abortion when it started was to control the minority population. Margaret Sanger was the woman behind it. What she did, she convinced minority groups that abortion was in their best interest. She had minority communities fighting for their own demise. The same thing is happening in women's sports. They have convinced these young women that they are being treated unfairly, that they deserve more, they deserve the same treatment as the men when they don't, because they don't make any money. So go ahead. Keep pushing for equity. You're going to push yourself right out of a scholarship. But let me know what you think. Will the push for financial equity be the end of women's sports in college? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.